FIFA called this the most inclusive World Cup in history. 48 teams, 3 host countries, a global tournament for a global game. That was the promise. That was the headline. That was the line printed on every official document for the better part of 2 years. Now look at what is actually happening. On the 20th of June, 2026, the Iranian national team was told by the United States government that its players, its staff, and its medical team would not be allowed to stay in the country for longer than necessary. They could fly in the day before a match. They had to fly out the day after. That is the rule. 24 hours, give or take, for a team competing in the biggest tournament in football. CNBC reported it. The BBC reported it. Al Jazeera ran the full text of the Iranian Football Federation's complaint. There is no debate about the facts. Inclusive. That was the word. Read it again, then read the timeline. The Iranian team is currently based in Mexico, not by choice, because the team's own technical staff was warned that any extended stay in the United States carried legal and immigration risk. The players cross the border for a match and then cross back. They train in Mexico. They sleep in Mexico. They watch their opponents play in stadiums they themselves cannot enter without a clock running on every minute. A World Cup with one team commuting. Think about what that means. Now picture the official FIFA brochure, the smiling photos, the handshakes, the promotional video where the trophy is held up by children from 48 countries. The line, repeated in 5 languages, about football bringing the world together. And then layer over the top of it the actual arrangement for the Iranian squad. Fly in, play, fly out, do not stay, do not linger, do not exist in the country longer than the broadcast requires. That is the gap. That is the entire story. And it is not just Iran. The American Immigration Council, a nonpartisan policy group, published a long brief on the 9th of June, documenting that fans from at least 15 countries on the latest United States travel ban list were facing visa denials despite holding valid tickets. NPR confirmed multiple cases of Moroccan fans turned away from American embassies. The BBC published a long-form feature on the 14th of June titled A World Cup for Them, Not Us, full of interviews with ticket holders from across the African continent who said they had simply given up trying to attend. Inclusive, that was the word. The brochure still says it. To be fair to FIFA, the steelman for their position is real and worth saying out loud. They did not write the visa law. They did not draft the travel ban. They did not sign the executive order. When the FIFA president, Gianni Infantino, told ESPN on the 11th of June that his organization cannot dictate to the United States government who is allowed into its country, he was, in a narrow legal sense, telling the truth. Sovereign immigration policy sits with the sovereign, not with a football body. That argument lasts about a paragraph. Because here's what FIFA can do. FIFA can choose where to play. FIFA can choose where to host. FIFA can refuse to sign a hosting agreement that puts 47 national teams at the political mercy of one country's election cycle. FIFA can write protections into the contract before the contract is signed. FIFA can say in public, in the months before the tournament, that the situation is unacceptable and the host must adjust. Reuters has reported on the existence of internal warnings raised by FIFA's own working groups years before the bid was awarded. The warnings were filed, they are on paper, and the contract was signed anyway. Inclusive, the word is still on the brochure. Now layer in the financial picture. FIFA announced earlier this year that it will distribute $871 million to the 48 participating teams. USA Today and Fortune both reported the figure. $655 million of that is prize money. $50 million for the winner alone, a record, the biggest payout in tournament history. And built into the schedule for that money is the unspoken assumption that every team can move freely between 3 countries to compete for it. Iran cannot move freely. Iran is on a clock. So what is the prize for the Iranian players actually worth, in real terms, when their preparation, their recovery, their nutrition, their sleep, and their training environment are all compromised by a hosting decision made years before they qualified? And then there is the second layer, the fan layer. Because a World Cup is not just 23 players on a roster. It is the families, the friends, the supporters who travel to see their nation play. FIFPro, the Global Players Union, raised this directly in a statement covered by Reuters and the Financial Times. The union pointed out that international football has always been built on the assumption that the tournament travels to the fans, not the other way around. That assumption is now in pieces. Inclusive. The word is still on the brochure. Now check the empty seats. The New York Times Athletics section published a breakdown on the 13th of June of the second match of the tournament. between South Korea and the Czech Republic at the Akron Stadium in Guadalajara. Thousands of empty seats, visible on camera, confirmed by reporters on the ground. FIFA blamed the gaps on fans watching the broadcast from inside the stadium concourse. NPR ran a follow-up the same week, noting that empty red seats were also visible at multiple Bay Area venues. Independent outlets put the number of unsold or unfilled seats across the first week of the tournament in the hundreds of thousands. Hundreds of thousands of seats. In a tournament that was sold to host country taxpayers on the promise that every match would be a sellout. Inclusive, the word is still on the brochure, and the gap keeps widening. The American Hotel and Lodging Association survey, published in early May, found that close to 80% of hoteliers in host cities reported World Cup bookings below forecast. The New York Times reported the average hotel rate on the night of the opening match in host cities had climbed to $1,013, compared with $293 during a normal week. Triple the price. Below forecast occupancy. Rooms sitting empty at premium rates. That is what happens when you price out the people you said you were going to welcome. Inclusive. The word is still on the brochure. So here's the question. If a tournament is the most inclusive in history, do its players commute to their own group stage matches? Do its fans get turned away at embassies? Do its hotels triple in price and still fail to fill? Do its host cities deploy more than 100,000 soldiers, Marines, National Guard, and police officers around the opening venue? As Al Jazeera documented in Mexico City on the 11th of June, just to manage the protests outside. A serious institution would have to answer those questions. FIFA's chosen answer, repeated in print and on camera, is the same one word. Chill. That is the official position. Chill. Relax. Screaming and shouting does not find a solution. Those were the exact phrases used by the FIFA president and reported by The Guardian on the 10th of June and by the New York Times the same day. You can call something the most inclusive tournament in history. You can put the word in every press release, every sponsor activation, every press conference backdrop. You can repeat it until your own communications team starts to believe it. But the word does not survive contact with the data. A team on a 24-hour leash, fans turned away at embassy gates, empty red seats in stadiums that taxpayers helped fund, hotels priced at 3 times normal sitting half empty, petitions in Europe crossing 170,000 signatures, parliaments asking whether they should even attend, players' unions in court over fixture congestion, a host country running the largest peacetime security operation in its own modern history just to open the tournament. That is the operational reality, and the brochure still says inclusive. So what does the gap mean for the sport? It means the trust between the institution and the fans is no longer abstract. It is measurable. You can count it in petition signatures. You can count it in empty seats. You can count it in hotel vacancy rates. You can count it in legal filings from players' unions. Every one of those numbers is a piece of evidence that the people who actually carry football, the players, the fans, the workers, the supporters, do not believe the slogan anymore. A tournament can survive a bad match. A tournament can survive a controversial refereeing decision. A tournament can even survive a scandal. What a tournament cannot survive in the long arc is a sustained gap between what it claims to be and what its own audience can see with their own eyes. The brochure says inclusive. Iran has 24 hours. Now widen the field one more time, because Iran is the headline, but the structural problem is bigger than Iran. The American Immigration Council, in a separate brief published in mid-June and covered by multiple outlets, documented that several FIFA tournament officials, not just players, had been denied United States entry or subjected to extended secondary screening at American airports. A Somali referee scheduled to officiate during the group stage was denied entry, a story Al Jazeera covered in detail on the 11th of June. Read that one more time. A match official, certified by FIFA, accredited for the tournament, with paperwork in order, was turned away by the host country. If the referees are not safe, who is? Inclusive. The word is still on the brochure. Then there's the question of the workers. The American Immigration Council and reporting by NPR have both flagged the risk to undocumented workers and to mixed-status families inside host city venues. The presence of immigration enforcement near stadium perimeters, reported across multiple outlets, including USA Today, has changed the daily reality for the cleaning staff, the food service workers, the security contractors, and the construction crews who finished the upgrades to several of the host venues in the weeks before the tournament began. Many of those workers built the World Cup. Many of them are now being told by the policy environment around the tournament that they should not show up to it. Think about what that means for the legacy of the venues themselves. Inclusive. The word is